Welcome to the Gym Secrets Podcast with myself, Cale Owen, Mike Ferreira, and Ed Turney. This podcast has one simple goal: make gym owners wildly successful. We have each owned or currently own profitable gyms. And over the past 5 years, we have helped over 5,000 gyms become massively profitable through the secrets we will share on this podcast. And if you listen in closely, we guarantee that you will be able to build a wildly profitable gym. Enjoy. And as always, if you find value in this, do us a massive favor and just share this with other gym owners that you know. All right, guys, we're back with another episode. This is episode 3 in the metrics that you should be tracking that you're probably not. So these are the metrics that we find really important outside of the basic metrics that most people should be tracking inside their business: revenue, profit, number of members, all this stuff. But if you own a gym, this is episode 3. We've already covered CAC, cost to acquire a client. We've talked about cohort data, specifically around churn. So you can dive deeper into the details of churn and why people are churning inside of your business, inside of your gym, so you can improve the experience for your clients with more detail. And now today we're talking about theoretical max. And Ed, you just put it literally perfectly. And that is, gym owners talk about, well, I want to fill my gym to capacity, or I want to fill it up. Well, what does that mean exactly? Right. And how do we even figure that out?
Right. And it's also, why do you want to do that?
Yeah.
That's a whole different.
I want to help more people. It's like, yes, but you also want to make more money. So it's like, let's figure out what the dollars associated to a full gym actually are. So, I mean, the easiest way to think about it is just inputs and outputs. So you have to track how many people you're signing up every month and what percentage of those people are you losing. So we talked about churn in the last episode. But for example, if you're signing 10 people a month and you're losing 10% of people per month, if you just take those two numbers, the first one divided by the second one, so 10 divided by 10%, 100 is the absolute maximum that you're actually going to have inside your gym.
So if anyone's wondering if you're not really good at math, if you pull out a calculator, the way to do it is you literally take 10 divided by 0.1. Just so we're clear, if you're listening to this, that's how you do it.
And if you're in like a Google Sheet, you can literally just do like this divided by 10% because it does it for you.
It's way easier.
yeah, which is nice. Google Sheets are your friend. Yep. But if that's the case, and then you're only charging, let's say, $150 a month, which you know isn't enough, $15,000 is the most money you're going to make. And then you sit back and you're like, well, that's not enough for me to actually live and achieve my goals. So then you can say, well, if I want to make $40,000 or $50,000, what do I have to do? And you start to reverse engineer what the pricing has to be, how many people have to sign up, and how many people have to not leave. So without knowing the front end and the back end, the inputs and the outputs, you can never really figure out theoretical max. So this is a amorphous idea of like, I want to fill my gym, I want to make all this money. It's like, well, how are you actually going to do it? And those are the two very simple numbers to track to figure it out.
Super easy. You just have to make sure you're tracking those. Is your actual signups and your churn percentage every single month. And just recap real quick.
Define churn.
Churn real quick is like how many reoccurring members you have at the beginning of a month. So you take that number and then you look at how many of those reoccurring have left, right? So you divide the exits into the ones that started, and that will give you your churn percentage. Don't take into account any new signups that you have.
Right. Or trials.
Or trials, nothing. Just take your reoccurring members. That will give you your EFT churn, which is the thing that's most important because that's your reoccurring revenue.
Real fast, what are the churn mistakes everybody makes?
They don't.
To your
freezes.
point.
Freezes.
So to your point, though, a lot of times it'll be like, I lost, 10 clients this month, and they say, how many active members do I have right now? So it's like, I lost 10, right? And I have 200. But at the beginning of the month, they had a different number. And
correct.
So just to reiterate,
take the beginning of the month.
You have to go back. Beginning of the month on the first, how many were paying EFTs?
Yeah.
And then end of the month, specifically of those paying EFTs, how many left? That's the number one mistake.
So we're it's July when we're recording this. So July 1st, take however many paying active EFT members that you have, take that number, write it down. On August 1st, of those that were already paying, take the exits, the ones that exited, divide it into that original number. That gives you your churn percentage across the board. But the things that they don't are freezes, holds, things like that.
Delinquent payments.
They just have rolling open delinquent payments for months.
Let's hit something real quick. Your bank account doesn't give a fuck about the bodies that leave. It gives all of the fucks about the money that leaves. And so freezes and holds, that's revenue churn. And by the way, that's the stuff that matters when it comes to paying your bills. And so too many times people are like, no, I have all these members, aka bodies, right? And yet I'm like, I don't know why I don't have any more money. Yeah, that's because your freezes and holds and all these other things that are coming up are just continuing to pile up over time. And you're allowing people to put their stuff on hold.
It's allowing emotions to kind of like cloud the real story, what's happening in that bank account. Did the money go in or not? right?
And you can't rely on your CRM. Your CRM is probably not tracking this correctly. I'm not going to call names, but like most of them don't track this correctly. And so we asked gym owners, like, oh, it says this. And then I'm like, but the revenue doesn't make sense. If your revenue was this the last 90 days each month, I'm like, that doesn't track to what you're saying your churn actually is. So it's like, get a Google sheet, put them all on the sheet, track it. This is not that hard. This is a few minutes a day to just make sure we're keeping track of stuff. So any freezes, any delinquent payments, any of those things. It's not just people that walk in and say, I'm quitting. That's what most gym owners do. It's like, oh, we only need 3, exits. It's like 3 people that said, I'm not coming back or I'm not renewing. That's not total exits. It's any reason they stopped paying. That is an exit.
Yeah. Holds, vacations, delinquent payments, all the different things, any other reason that they did not pay.
The other big mistake is that they use paid in full members in the denominator of the equation. Meaning if you have 100 clients, but 20 of them are paid in full, you only have 80 reoccurring clients. You only have 80 people on that recurring payment.
Don't keep the paid in fulls in there.
Right. You have to take that out. Should you also have churn percentage on paid in fulls? 100%. That's cohort data. That's episode 2. So go back. But that skews what the actual number is.
It's super important because your numbers will be so much better if you keep PIFs in there than if you just track your reoccurring payments, period. Well, there's one aspect that I want to talk about that goes into this that usually isn't the typical hypothetical max, and that is square footage and class utilization, because that plays a big factor. Because let's say we go to the original example that you had of, cool, my hypothetical max would be $15,000 a month because I sign up 10, I exit 10, and then I can probably max out at 100 members. That's basically the max. They're paying $150. Well, okay, let's say I start signing up more people, but that means that my class, I can only serve this amount of clients in a day because I only allowed this amount of clients to come to a class. So how can I increase my efficiency within my sessions to allow more members to come and actually be serviced, right? Lose more weight, change their life, and be able to increase my hypothetical max via that way. Because that's a separate thing. Because you start to grow, then you're going to have this cap, this hypothetical max that's based on the amount of people that you actually allow inside your sessions.
How many you can serve at any given,
Kickboxing is a perfect example. How many times we talk to a kickboxing facility owner and they're like, we're like, how many bags do you have? And they're like, no, the first question is what's your session capacity? And they're like, 15. And we're like, how many bags do you have? They're like 15. And we're like, oh my gosh, no. Okay.
30.
So your session capacity is now 30. Yeah. So you can now double it. So now your hypothetical max just doubled technically. So now you can just like, oh wow.
For those that are listening, I was like, if you're running a kickboxing facility, boxing facility, you can run 2 to a bag. Yeah. Right. And for a lot of clients, a lot of members are going to say it's actually more fun. Right. Way more fun. Just the energy, the vibe, right? When you got a partner, bag buddy, whatever. And that's a foreign concept to a lot of people, but literally can double your revenue.
I increased my session capacity. I had a strength and conditioning facility. I increased it by 33% just by, instead of doing tandems on a workout, by just adding another person. So there's 3 stations in one, and they would just rotate between those 3 stations. So that's immediately 33% increase.
So you always had partners in the beginning, and then you added the third?
Because partners are more fun.
Yeah.
Did you remove barbell work, or you just?
And I removed barbell work.
Okay, that's a whole other.
Yeah, and I also charge people so if people want to do barbell work, so I started with barbell work, and then started gym launch, scaled like crazy. Realized that most people shouldn't be doing barbells. Period. Or they need to go through sessions. So what I did was took them through, got them to a basic point, and then I charged them to do a 6-week certification course where they had to basically test out to be able to use barbells in a session. And this isn't even Olympic weightlifting. This is bench press, deadlift, strict press, like any barbell movement that is not explosive. And so in order to do that, they had to test that out. And if they test it out, they'd pay me $199 for one session every 6 weeks. Right? Or every week for 6 weeks. So it's $199, not a big cost, nothing crazy, but it's one session, and I would do a group. So it's not just one-on-one, it's group. So we get 10 people paying us $199, right? So it's almost like $2,000 right there for 6-week session of just getting these individuals tested out in barbells. And then they could use the barbells in a session. Now it's a status thing for them because no one else can use it. And now they're charging, but they also paid attention more because they're like, this is serious.
Better clients.
Way better clients. Right? They moved better.
Price tag to it.
Oh my gosh. Because I had clients before. Take this into account. I had clients before who paid for one-on-one personal training for 10 sessions to learn movements before they got in. Terrible business model. Don't do it, by the way. If you're CrossFit or whatever, don't do that model because you will not scale. So 10 sessions. Then I switched to this model. These people move better than the people that did the one-on-one personal training. A lot of it is group aspect of it, where they had to watch other people and they got to see it. The other aspect of it was they'd already gone through basic movement training for 6 weeks to 8 weeks before that. And then they got tested out and now they move better in class. That's crazy.
But you can hear the conviction in your voice about that process. So like, this isn't just a way to make more money. This literally, like, because
My injuries went down.
yeah, exactly. Like the coaches that are like resistant to these ideas are usually the most qualified, educated people. Like they've dedicated 20 years to learning something really, really in depth.
Yep.
They're the people that should be doing this model. Like, do you know what I mean? Like they're the ones that should actually adopt this because they have the expertise. So if you have the expertise, you should have a structure like this. This isn't just about making more money. Like it's just, they both go together really, really well.
I could have charged $500 for it. But I was like, no, like at the end of the day, I make more than enough money, right? And I cover my costs because it's 1 hour once a week, right? And so it's like, it's super simple to do. But the experience, my clients' injuries, I had no injuries.
And then from there, they could do barbell work in your standard sessions or, okay.
Yep. But they didn't have to.
Yeah.
And what was funny is they would do it maybe once or twice a week. And then the other once or twice a week when they would come in, they would use dumbbells. It just depended on the day for them. And sometimes they would test out and they would be able to do pressing movements, but they couldn't squat. So they never did it. They weren't allowed to do it. So it allows you to give a much more personalized experience within a group setting to your clients.
I think this is one of the biggest reasons you had 3% churn too,
100%.
because you could so easily identify as a client your progress in the
100%.
process, which is why strength and conditioning is in many ways, you should have lower churn than more of a large group boot camp or kickboxing because you can see progress in such a really detailed way.
We had, unfortunately, it shouldn't be an advanced method, but we had a much more advanced method than the average strength and conditioning facility because we actually did the work. Everyone talks about wanting to do it, but we actually were the ones that did it. Meaning that when someone came into a session, we knew we had a weekly meeting on all members, even when we had 200 plus members, on red, yellow, green movements. So like, which one can they do? Here's the upcoming programming. Here's what they can and can't do. Here's the step downs that they need to do. So we had a progression and regression. We had 3 regressions for every movement and we had 3 progressions for every movement. So if I programmed it, there were 3 progressions and our coaches knew exactly how to make it harder, whether it was by more time under tension, by changing the variable that they were using, changing the weight, adding chains, adding bands, a bunch of stuff, all the way to regressions. And so every single person could come in and I could have a group class going on with 26 different people and all of them could technically be doing something different, but we would all be following the same programming.
So you had a weekly meeting.
Yes.
To keep product top of mind.
Yes.
Right. With your team.
Yes.
I think that's missing from at its simplest. Form,
people assume.
So many gyms.
Yeah.
That's because
you called it advanced. I would call it simple.
It's simple.
It's the most simple advanced thing ever.
It is, but it's like, but people assume that people know what to do. And gym owners also devalue how important movement education is. And if you educate your coaches and your clients on movement, they'll get better results. They won't get injured. They'll have a better quality of life outside of the gym, which is the whole purpose of going to a gym. And your churn will decrease because they'll get exceptional results. They won't be beat up every time they come to the gym. And they'll feel great afterwards.
No one likes to feel lost. No. I think that's one of the biggest things
that's why they go to a boutique gym and not a big box gym in the first place.
And they get and then they go to a boutique gym. CrossFit's, what the heck? They go to a bunch of these boot camps and boutique gyms, and they all end up doing the same thing. They all end up doing the same movements. Cool. This grandmother over here is going to do 30 snatches for time, while this 18-year-old's also going to do 30 snatches for time. Cool. We're just using a lighter barbell while you're also using a heavier barbell. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like, that's not how fitness works. And so, I mean, all love to the CrossFit gyms out there. Love you guys, but still, it's a lot of broken models out there. And if you just spend a little bit more time, and you channeled your desire to be a programming expert and your thought and ego around being a programming expert to the application of what it should look like on the floor and what the experience should be like, you'd be shocked at how different your client journey and client experience would be.
So we went way off topic.
To wrap it up.
Wrap it up. We were on what? Theoretical
max.
Way off. That was a rant. Theoretical max.
It was valuable.
Yes. So inputs, outputs. So how many are you signing up every month divided by your churn percentage? That will give you what your theoretical max is. One variable in there that's a big variable is just how many people you can fit into a session. So as you start to grow, if you can double that, then you double your hypothetical max. Another way to double your hypothetical max, one other one real quick, just as a tidbit, is how many sessions per week people can come in their membership. Most people do unlimited. If you do it 3 times a week, you automatically double your hypothetical max. right there. So those are two levers that you can pull. You can double how many people can go into a session or increase it by a certain percentage, and you can decrease how many sessions they come to per week, and that will increase and give you more of a higher hypothetical max.
People get better results with 3 sessions a week than unlimited, because unlimited means you come whenever you want, which turns into never.
Yep. Awesome. Appreciate you guys. As always, if you find value in this, we love you. We thank you. And do us a favor. Share with another gym owner out there. Catch you all in the next episode.
Later.